Hello everyone, my name is Jen and welcome to the Book Refuge. Today I am collabing with Bellessa to bring you the hottest romances that I read in 2024. So stay tuned for more info about the massive giveaway that we're hosting together. So I was a little bit reticent to actually make this video given some of the romance discourse that's going on about spice, smut, steam happening. Now, this is a cyclical argument that comes up many times, and at the end of the day, this is a video that I look forward to making a whole lot, because to me, hotness or steam or just all of the things that go with that are more than just the actual intimate scenes in a book. So I'm not going to change what I've been doing for years just because I'm a little bit irritated with some people. But just know these books that we're going to go over with me, they are going to melt your clothes off and some other things possibly, but they also have heart behind them. And so that's what I'm going to be talking about with these. But yeah, they are pretty sexy. And when you read them, you might want to have your B.O.B. on hand. So let's get into our sponsorship with Bellessa before we get on to the recs. So I am absolutely thrilled again to be working with Bellessa to give out free vibrators and free gift cards for vibrators. They have been a wonderful sponsor of me this year, and I'm looking forward to what we're going to do together in 2025 as well. If you haven't heard of Bellessa before, they are a by women company that is all things sexual wellness, and their goal is to empower everyone to embrace, explore, and dive into their sexuality no matter what gets their motor running, no matter what excites you the most. One of my absolute favorites is the Air Vibe. This one has dual simulation, both clitoral and, oops, hitting the wrong side there, both clitoral and G-spot, both sides. So it has dual motor and multiple speeds to give you exactly what you're looking for. It's waterproof, rechargeable, and silent but deadly. So this is definitely a thrill for sure. I just love pretty gold. They also just make them absolutely beautiful. So, you know, there's that. There also is the Demi Wand, and this one is a powerhouse. So this works on all types of bodies, and so there's orgasms for everybody. Again, this one, yes, no, maybe, I don't know, but it's great. It has an innovative design, and it's ultra quiet. It's compact, discreet, and it comes in, of course, the cute little thing. This one, sorry, little break from the script here. This one reminds me of like a sunglass case, you know? So, I mean, hopefully nobody opens it on you, but, you know, if someone just sees it, that's what it could look like here. It has the flexible neck and allows you to get just the right pressure and angle that you want. It's got a nice little thump on the end here. You can see how quiet that is. Just purrs for you, doesn't it? It's just great. So this is the Demi Wand. Definitely a staple to have in your collection. This one is called the Thump, okay? I mean, isn't just the name of it so sexy? I just love it. So this toy does everything. Look at, pop this one out. Oh, it's so beautiful. This one vibrates, suctions, and has some thump on it as well. So this is designed to be the de facto replacement for external clit vibes, right? This utilizes Bellessa's improved pleasure jet technology. So it's super soft, feels amazing. It has this little grip here that you can use for the suction, as well as when you turn this around, this is a little thumper here. So there's actually 3 different things that this one does, which is amazing. And as well as being waterproof and rechargeable as all of them are, this one has, see if you can see this, it has 3 different options. So this part vibrates, this part thumps, and here is your suction. Thank you so much to Bellessa for sponsoring this video, and let's go ahead and get into the books that I think will have you reaching for a Bellessa toy the next time you read them. So, as I stated, these books this year, it's not just about the amount of steamy scenes there are in the story, though for some people that might be really the only thing that they are looking for. I'm looking for a whole lot more, because as someone who's read, hundreds of thousands of steamy scenes in books, I have some high standards for the ones that not only kind of wow me, but also bring the emotional punch, right? If I want just a quick, spicy erotic time, there are books for that. And I'm not shaming those books at all. But those aren't the ones we're going to be talking about in this video. These are going to be ones that hand in hand have the emotional punch, the story that I like, and they had some out of this world scenes in them, okay? So let's go ahead and go through these. There was Brutal Ambition by Sam Mariano. This one is kind of a spin-off from the Coastal Elite series. We do see some characters from there pop up, particularly Dare and Aubrey show up in here. And this is one I've talked about quite a bit this year, and it's just quite a ride for sure. So this one starts off actually at the same Halloween party as Surrender does, or Sophie Surrender is what it used to be called, all that jazz. And our heroine gets invited there, and I really love this. She's actually dressed as like Christine from the Phantom of the Opera, and she's going with this one guy, and it turns out he only invited her there because she was a virgin, and she's supposed to be a virgin sacrifice, okay? And the thing is, our hero in this one, or our anti-hero, Killian, as he were, he stops this ceremony from happening, or this assault from happening, but he doesn't do it for the purest of motives, okay? He mostly does it because he's irritated that this mock secret society that is doing this is going to mess it up for other secret societies on campus, okay? All right. So he does rescue her, but he's definitely no white knight. And when he rescues her and brings her back to his place, he's like, girl, you can't go home. It's not like you were a mystery to this man. Like, he knows who you are. His group knows who you are. You think they're just going to let you, be out there and go tell on them? No, you're going to need to be with me now all the time. And so he does kind of sort of kidnap her after rescuing her, because let's be fair, she's being a little dumb about this. You were just almost literally raped and murdered, and you just are, whatever. So anyway, she ends up staying with Killian, and he does exert a little bit of pressure in the form of thinking he deserves a particular reward from her for saving her. And, she's actually not too against doing that. But things do quickly escalate, as they do in a Sam Mariano story. And very quickly, Killian becomes obsessed with her. But Killian, he's a bit different than some of the other villains who get the girl in Sam Mariano's stories, in that he doesn't have every advantage at his fingertips. The whole reason he's a part of the secret society he is a part of is because he's trying to make something of himself. So he definitely has to jump through some hoops and play a few games to get to the point he wants to be at. But I really love this. Of course, the scenes are super hot. It's Sam Mariano, so if there's a trigger warning that you have, there's a pretty good chance that she hits on it somehow, so make sure you read the trigger warnings for that. Okay, then we have The Homewrecker by Sarah Kate. I have absolutely loved the Good Boys series from her. The Good Brothers, sorry. Good boys. I mean, there are some of them good boys. And this is one that I was really anticipating because I love how Sarah Kate writes polyamory. And this one is an MMF. And it's actually an MMF between a married couple and a sex worker who ends up staying in their guest house because his house burned down. And he's kind of sort of actually knows that married man that he's going to be staying in their guest house because he used to date his younger brother in high school, but it was a secret. They were each other's first love. And when that brother, Isaac, got kicked out of the house, Dean kind of blamed the older brother for this and that he didn't do enough to help them. So there's a lot of animosity there. And when he has moved into this guest house and Dean's starting to really get annoyed with the superiority of our other hero. I think Caleb is his name. I keep saying the other hero, but my brain couldn't remember it for a second. Briar is the heroine. Caleb is the hero, yeah. I mean, I know they're all Bible names, but still, they get mixed in my head. And so he actually kind of dares him that stay away from my wife, because Dean is bisexual. And he's like, I could have your wife begging for it, just like that. So he actually like bets him. So not the smartest move. And what ends up happening, as I've said, because this is an MMF, there is a bit of cheating on the front end of it, which I know won't be for everybody, but very soon, Dean actually kind of flips the script, and we go from having both the husband and the wife kind of cheating with Dean at one point, but Dean offering to help them get back in their sexy groove because they've fallen out of it in years. And yeah, we get to see them experiment in that as all three of them fall deeper in love with each other. So yeah, that means there's some really hot threesome scenes in here. As I said, there are a few cheating scenes in the beginning, but I love how Dean is actually kind of teaching them BDSM. So he's teaching Briar to, open up to her submissive side, as well as showing Caleb, helping him kind of direct his dominant side into these scenes. And I love it. I love it so much. Sarah Kate is phenomenal. Okay, then we have Lights Out. The ones that I don't own, I did actually pull them up because since this is my end of the year, these are some of my faves. I want to make sure I have details as correct as possible to represent these books as best as possible. So I brought up Lights Out because it was back in August that I read this one. But I mean, I feel like a lot of you now know what this book is about too, because of how just viral this story went. I hate even saying viral about it, but that's true. That's what happened. This became a best of TikTok in no time. And Lights Out is actually a stalker dark romance, but I would call Josh kind of one of the feral golden retriever types, or feral sunshine, as it were. And I just really like that about him. And then we have Allie, who she is a nurse and she does have a few kinks. And one of them is she likes watching masked men videos. She's even subscribed to be kind of a fan of this guy. And Josh knows that she's a fan of his. And he's actually kind of a tech nerd. And so he's maybe sort of kind of hacked his way in. And he's stalking her now. And she's actually the girlfriend, or aka more fuck buddy of his roommate. And so when she figures out that she's being stalked, she actually goes to Josh, because she knows he's the computer guy, to try and help her. So she's literally giving access to the person who's stalking her, and when things go really far to one point, he actually films one of his sexy videos in her home. And now all bets are off. So things really get rolling. But anyway, this one, super hot, lots of fun kinks we explore, and also it was fun. I say this, if you like Butcher and Blackbird, it has kind of an edge of that to it. I don't think it's quite as intense as that one is, but there is some stabby stab, just no violence between the two of them to each other. We'll just say that. They have surprisingly a wholesome relationship once things get going between them. Okay, then we have All My Love by Daisy Jane. This book, you guys, this one is wild. Okay, this whole series by her is really anything you read by Daisy Jane is going to be a little unhinged, and it's going to be really sexy. I'm actually currently reading her newest release. It was a surprise release called Big Daddy, and that's going to show up on some lists later on. I promise you that. But this one I just found to be so sweet, even though the heroine is batshit crazy. There's nothing else to call her, okay? I say it with affection and love, but Dolly is crazy for our hero and his young son, actually. Now, she's much younger than him, and she's been in love with him since she was a teenager. And it was very hard for her, actually, to watch him be married to a woman that she didn't think was good enough for him. And now this woman is gone, and he has a young son, and she's actually neighbors with him. Now, when she was young, she knew that he wasn't going to have anything to do with her because she was a teenager. So she has bided her time. She has saved herself. She has been stalking him and keeping him close to her, waiting for her chance to make him hers. So, yeah. She even says, I love the back of this here, I'm going to say this. Romeo and Juliet fought against a family feud. Elizabeth Bennet and Mr. Darcy had to sort out his views of her family. And Noah and Allie faced timing and an ever-changing world. So, but I know we'll have it easier. When I come clean, he'll accept me because our love is written in the stars, Hudson Gray and me. So, yeah, she's going to win him over. The girl is determined. I will tell you that for sure. But again, I found her to be strangely charming. And yeah, I can't help myself. I just loved her so much. This one again is like so many kinks, but she also truly loves him and his son. So when there's some of the wackier scenes happening, this is still actually a pretty slow burn because she doesn't just thrust herself at him right away. It does take its time. But once we get going, I mean, the whole last third of it is them kind of exploring everything together. But I think the buildup was good. It was good. Okay, now we have another pretty dark one, but gosh, it was hot and I can't help it. So it was The Wild Man by Alex Grayson. And I believe this is the only Alex Grayson that I've read. But I saw this one on, who did I get this one? It was either Gray's Promo or the author agency. I can't remember which PR company I got it from. But when it said Tarzan retelling, I said, that's me. I'll sign up for that. I love Tarzan retellings, and there aren't a ton of them, which, I mean, makes sense, I guess. But this one is literally a wild man who's been living alone by himself in the wilderness for many years. And our heroine goes to the wilderness I think she wants to take photos of him, is how it happens. And so she comes across him, and he actually gets the drop on her and kidnaps her and calls her mine. And he ties her to him, and he does force himself upon her. So put up the trigger flags right there. Now, I knew this was going to have that in it because it says it. She warns you, right? She's like, this is going to start out rough. So be prepared for that. And if you don't want any non-con or grapey situations, just don't do this one. Just don't. But I'm always curious in any type of dark romance, when you start with that, okay, when you start at that level, how are you going to win me over? Okay. That's what I think when I see this. You know, it's always that kind of like untouchable syndrome to me, where if you start your hero at the most despicable that we can think of, can you make me love him by the end? And to be honest, it wasn't that hard to fall in love with this guy, right? Yes, it's very bad how it starts, but as you start to learn how he got where he is, I also understand why our heroine falls for him. Is there some Stockholm-ish syndrome going with it? Yes, there is. But there's also sexy AF breeding scenes and sexy scenes and playing with wolves. And, you know, I also love an element of survival stuff happening as well. And yeah, so this one is wild. There is sex in almost every chapter. But this is one of those erotic romances where it starts out as trauma, and by the end of it, it's some of the most it's so romantic. Like, it's a mind fuck, okay? It absolutely is. And yeah, if you're someone who can stomach that, and I understand if you don't, and it's okay. It's okay. No judgment. Don't judge me. I don't judge you. We're good. I think it's a fascinating ride. So that's why I put it on here, because if nothing else, there's almost a sex scene in every chapter. So this is an erotic romance for sure. And speaking of erotic romance, we have The Pleasure Protocol by Darcy Romaine and Kat Alexander. So this is one I absolutely loved, and it has made an appearance in many a kinky video that I have done because it has some really hot kinks in it. There's nothing else to say about that. This was sent to me as a gift by the authors, which was just so sweet. Got a signed copy here. And this one is an escort and a billionaire romance. It is a age gap, and there's our billionaire CEO, Nikolai, and he's been using this escort service for years. But when his normal partner isn't able to come, Corinne gets sent in his place. Well, his normal escort, I believe he gets married. So both of these characters are bisexual, by the way. His normal partner, I think, has gotten married. And he's like, let me send my friend Corinne. I've told her what you're into. And I think she'll be a really good fit for you because she likes those things. So he's like, okay, well, at least use her for this one event that I already have to go to. And part of his reason for using escorts is not only because of, you know, it's hard to find someone who's into the same sexual things as you are, but number two, being a billionaire, any date that he would have is going to be using him for money anyway. So it might as well be going to someone who isn't lying about it, is kind of his thought. And I appreciate that. But I also love a good escort romance. And so this one, there's not too much drama to go with it. It's one of those books of like discovering which things are the same. And then because it's an escort and a client, you know, is she going to keep doing her job? Is she going to become his mistress? Is there going to be more? Like, it's that kind of conflict. But in between it, we're experimenting with a lot of things. This one has some light kind of like pet play within it too, which I'm not a huge fan of. However, what I'll say is that within this story, a lot of the, like, because her nickname, like, her endearment is pet, you know, that's where a lot of it fits. And so there's not too much of it going like too far for me, but some people might have wished that it went more, but I think that they danced the line with it really well. And I still felt so much emotion in it because when a BDSM story is done right, it is an erotic romance, and you start heavy with sex and you continue with it. But when the sex starts to change from just being erotica into an erotic romance, that's what it's about for me. That's what it's about for me. And it's why I do try some romances I think are outside of what I enjoy, because I'm looking for those stories. And when I have low expectations for that, that's when a story can blow me away. I had no idea what to make of this one. It's also told in third person present tense, which is usually a bit difficult for me. Like, I like first person and I like present tense. Like, that's what I like, especially in a sexy story, right? Because it's easy to just slide right into it. There's no other way to say it. But with this one, I got used to it, and I really cared about Corinne and Nikolai, and I wanted them to work it out. So definitely check it out. And I know that at least one of the authors does watch my channel, so thank you for such an amazing book if you're watching this. This was amazing. I loved it so much, and I can't wait for whatever you guys write together next. Okay, then we have Born for Silk by Nikki Harris. And this book, y'all, was wild. I know it rubs some people the wrong way, and it is very odd. Like, there's no other way to say this. Because this is kind of a dystopian paranormal fantasy. There are shades of The Handmaid's Tale. Like, the author literally pitched this one as a spicy Beauty and the Beast meets The Handmaid's Tale. So we have like I have it pulled up here because it's so hard to explain this one. So it says 1,000 years of climate change, genetic engineering, and war destroyed civilization as it was. From the remains came the age of the trade and the crown, and in return for resources, security, and a meaningful purpose, citizens accept a life of service in the new world. So, you know, it's like a lot of dystopian worlds where, like, you're born kind of into a class, or you're put into a class, and if you will be put in that class, you'll be taken care of. And then within the class, depending on what your skills are or what your genetics are, there's only so many women who can have babies. And there's also only so many women who can have babies with one of the genetically engineered types. And our kind of like king of this, he's called King Rome. He is one of these genetically enhanced people. And so he is who is supposed to be the ruler of this harsh world. So he rules through fear and intimidation, and he is a intense person. One of my friends was actually reading this, and she didn't care for this book. And one of the things she pointed out, and this is fair to show the balance, is that he isn't really nice to anyone. Like, people who are serving him and helping him, even, you know, our heroine, he's not cruel to her. He loves her. He's obsessed with her by the end. But it's very much the, like, this is how things are. You're here to serve me. You're here to do this aspect. So his mind has to change about it a little bit too. And especially because he's our king, And this whole book is, like, we have an HEA by the end of this book. Though there are going to be 3 books in the series, we're going to see other couples. We do need this king to kind of believe in love for there to be other romances in the series, if that makes sense. Just how it plays out. Like, we need him to be in love with someone and to understand the difference between just being sexually attracted and genetically, like, connected to the person and be in love, so that these other couples will have a sympathetic ear, I think. That's just what I see of it. But anyway, we have our heroine, Aster, who is a beautiful, tiny human, and she is one of the women assigned to possibly be a womb for him. And so she's what is called born for silk. So yeah, so she is, and also because they're worried about assassinations, there are evils out there. There are cannibals in this world. There are the people who aren't within classes, as we said. They have chosen not to be joined up, so they're kind of living and trying to survive because they're not offered the same help from, you know, the kingdom, right? Or the government, whatever that it kind of is. The crown, right, we said. Because they're not offering themselves into those classes. And then there's also these roaming bands of, like, evil that, like I said, are like cannibals and things. So there's kind of all those elements going on. And to protect the king's heir, there is like a group of women that is almost kind of like let's call it what it is, that all have this genetic, would be able to have a baby. Sorry, I'm going way into detail on this one, but it's fascinating. And at the start of when our heroine gets brought into this group, the women aren't supposed to know who is fucking them, so none of the women know when they get pregnant which of their children is the heir. Only the king and his advisors will know, like, which woman he chose to impregnate, but he doesn't play that game once he sees Aster, because he knows that she's his woman and he's not going to be fucking any other woman but her. So anyway, it's that kind of thing. There's just so much going on in here. And this is a hero who he is not nice by the end, but he's that type of hero that, like, he will burn this world to the ground for her, and that's no joke. And also, let's say this, he has a cock that's like this big. And our heroine physically cannot take him all. And there's one time where she tries, and he's literally like, if you do that, I'm going to spank you. You can't, you'll hurt yourself, and you're supposed to have my baby, so stop it. So, but he tells her, there is one way that you can take all of me. And you can read it to find out which way that is. So, okay, moving right along. Next up, I have one of actually 2 fanfics that will be on this list, okay? Because I adored these few books, these fanfics that I read. Now, I don't rate fanfics anymore, but I'm putting this on a favorite book list, even though, yeah, they don't want us to call them books. I get it. But this story in itself is one of my favorites and also one of the hottest that I read this year, so it's going on this list. And fanfics are free for you to get your hands on. You don't have to pay for them or buy them, and so they're free entertainment. So why wouldn't I share the free entertainment with you, right? So one of them I want to share is Bloody, Slutty, and Pathetic. And again, I've talked about this one a ton, and it's a difficult one to explain. So again, this time I'm going to read the blurb for it because in the times that I've explained this story, I feel like I go all over the place. But it is a Dramini, and it is a marriage law. And this is what it says here. So, in my humble opinion, there's only 3 things that men should be, and that is bloody, slutty, and pathetic. And on a good day, Draco Malfoy can be all 3. When war heroine Hermione Granger and Azkaban-tattooed war criminal Draco Malfoy are forced to wed as a part of Shacklebolt's controversial Reconciliation Act, they openly fight the match and each other, their public brawls breathlessly reported by the press. Secretly, a deeply traumatized Draco delights in Hermione's attention and pines for a real marriage with her, even as her forced proximity to the Black family magic irritates the cursed scar that Bellatrix left on her arm, reminding her why she can never truly trust or forgive him. Then Hermione discovers that Draco's blood will soothe the scar, and Draco is willing to trade his blood for her body. So, this is a very long one. It is many, many pages long. And as it says, this Draco is a little bit self-hating. He likes to be submissive to her sometimes. He likes to be a brat about it sometimes. But I also think he's so sweet at the same time. I love this. And what made this one even better, is that Draco and Hermione are the main focus of the relationship. But during a good part of this book, because it is a slow burn between them. It really is, even though this one gets hot. It gets hot, okay? Woo! But there is also a really good relationship for Pansy and Neville. They get a good amount of page time, as does Charlie and Theo. And really, the Neville and Pansy in here is excellent. So again, during the story when we're kind of frustrated with Hermione pushing Draco away and Draco not just telling her how much he cares about her and those type of things, we get to see those other couples kind of making their way together. And literally, this is big dick energy Neville Longbottom, okay? He's also a Death Eater hunter. This is like sexy nerd Neville Longbottom, okay? And Pansy, it gets her hot under the panties for him, okay? I'm just saying. It's great. So, I love this. Love, love, love. I'll have a link to it down below. And if you're ever wondering how you can get a fanfic onto your Kindle, I do have one of my videos about fanfics tells you how to do that. So you can read it on your Kindle, and it's no different than anything else. Okay, then, before I get to the final fanfic, I, of course, have to share Braving the Storm by Elliot Rose. I'm going with this one because I think this one is even hotter than book one, and I like the third act of this one a little better than Chasing the Wild, but I do love them both. I even have Chasing the Wild right here because that's going to be in another video, but this was actually my ARC copy of Braving the Storm that I received. This is part of the Crimson Ridge. This one's a bit of a forbidden situation, right? It is a adopted uncle, and he barely knows this woman. They haven't even been around each other since like she was a child, and he lives out on Crimson Ridge. He's a farrier. He's an a rodeo buck and bronco star, and he keeps to himself. He has nothing to do with this family that had adopted him, and it's kind of a bummer actually because he had one family he couldn't be with, and then this new family just sucks too. So, you know, there's all that. And then our heroine has left her life in, I think it's in LA where it is, because she has not been treated well there. And when her father dies, she discovers that there's some land on Crimson Ridge that's in her name. And so she goes there. And in the very beginning of this story, it turns out that that place that has her name on it is where Storm has been living. And when he comes home to a naked, hot woman in his bathroom, he's thinking Buckle Bunny, not my estranged niece. And so things get very complicated very quickly and very sexy. This one has free use in it, which is a very, very sexy type of consensual non-consent, or, you know, use me whenever you want type of thing. There is some good amount of dynamic play, and it's just hot. This one's hot, everybody. Sexy, sexy, sexy. And I still really loved the heart in it too. Again, more than even with Chasing the Wild for me. I really did. It's great. Okay, and then the final one I want to share is, as I said, another fanfic. And this one, this one is quite a ride. This one has a magnificent story, as well as pretty much every BDSM kink you can think of also fit into here. Okay, so it is the perfect package. I want to find a friend to bind this for me at some point because I really want to own a copy of this one so bad. It was excellent, but it would probably need to be in like 3 volumes because this one is 603,000 words. Okay, that is like 2 manacles. Okay, it is large. Okay, I believe it is bigger than Measure of a Man, which is the previous like largest one that I've read. It's insane. But this is This Thing Between Us, and this was written by Lady Hilder, And this is one that I had been waiting for it to be finished because I'd seen artwork for this and I knew it was going to be hot. And it is. But again, the story within it as well was so good. So this one, I'll just read the little blurb for this one again too. That goes like this. It was never supposed to happen. They were slightly drunk, tempers were running high, and it just felt too good. But worst of all, after having been accidentally shagged by Draco Malfoy, an ex-Death Eater, an Auror with a reputation, and a man she absolutely loathes, Hermione Granger realizes what's been lacking in her life, someone dominant enough for her to surrender control to. And Draco Malfoy is more than willing to step up to the task. Actually, he's been waiting a long time for an opportunity like this. So, if you can't guess maybe from that, this is a secret pining Draco, and we do have flashback scenes to all the way back when they were still at Hogwarts. I believe this one is like 10 years after Hogwarts time, I don't know. And again, he is what is called a dark Auror in this series, where he is an Auror allowed to use dark magic to hunt down Death Eaters, and he very much puts on a front of complete, like, asshole still. But again, he's been secretly pining for Hermione for a very long time. And again, once they get into their games, it first starts as a, like, sex-only thing. But he does have them kind of go over, like, a contract of their, like, full-on, they go through the BDSM treatment with this. And they discover different kinks together. They try out different things. And then in the background, there's a really great story going on too. As I said, well, maybe I didn't say about this one, but the background story of this one is great too, because Draco is hunting Death Eaters. And he's using methods that if it was found out, he would be in a whole lot of trouble. So yeah, that's something that he has to contend with as well. And Hermione is dealing with a lot of self-loathing in this relationship with him, because she's afraid that she's only wants it because of her own kind of self-loathing that she has. So that's something they have to work through in this one. But I love this. It is long. There are times where you're like, just get on with it, please. But I love it. I love it. It was so hot. It was so intense. And I'm just so, like, into it. And the author says it this way too, because it is sex driven for a good part of this. This one is also an erotic romance, but it's an emotional slow burn. So you don't get the instant gratification of, like, now that we have shared our lust with each other, we're in love and everything's going to be great. Like, no, there's still a lot to handle for them. And I like that though. I like that it's not too easy, because I want to see them experimenting and doing all the sexy things, but there has to be something that we're building to, or otherwise it's just fluff the whole way through, which is fine, but not 600,000 words fine. You know, you don't just want to read that. So anyway, there you go. Those are the 10 hottest books/stories that I read in 2024. There are some books that were kept off of this, just an FYI, because they will be on my favorites of the year list. So there may be conspicuously some that are missing. I made the decision that I'm trying to show as many books as possible in my favorite lists that don't cross over, right? So, like, I tried not to put any mafia titles onto this one, and I tried not to put too many of the small town titles onto this one, because I'm going to be doing a favorite small town, and I already did a favorite mafia, and I already did a favorite historical. So just because there's some that didn't end up on here, it's because they're already kind of taken by another video, if that makes sense, because I want to share as many favorites as I possibly can. So some of the very hottest books I read this year are actually on my favorites of the year list. So there we go. But yeah, make sure you check out the description or the pinned comment for more info about the giveaway that I am doing with Bellessa. And thank you so much to Bellessa for sponsoring this video. And I hope you guys enjoy, and I hope this is a nice treat to you from me and Bellessa here. So have a wonderful day, my friends. We'll see you next time. Bye.